We're ready for the start. They're off.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly First Call podcast. Jeff Siegel, Jeremy Ponk from First Bet and Express Bet. Weekly, we take a look at the stakes races. If you're joining us on the first Pegasus World Cup Wager Guide site, welcome aboard. We're going to give you a look at all the big races on Saturday from Gulfstream Park. And if you like the show, be sure to check us out every Friday at First Bet and Express Bet on YouTube and across our social media channels. Jeff Siegel, we've got a big weekend, of course, around the country. We got the Southwest Stakes for the 3-year-olds. We also have a big one for the 3-year-old fillies, the Las Virgenes at Santa Anita, and then on Sunday, the San Vicente. But the focus really for us is Pegasus World Cup Day. Big 13 race card starting at 10:50 in the morning, East Coast time. That's 7:50 for you. You've already been up and done 100 push-ups by then, right?
Yes, I have, actually. I do all of my work, physical work before I get out of bed or just after bed. Do you believe that? I don't think so. I'll be watching, though. It's early in the morning because it's not just a great card with regards to quality and stakes and all that. The gambling is going to be unbelievable. I mean, everybody likes to find prices. There are 2 or 3 legitimate prices in every race that you could really hang your hat on. So there are so many money-making opportunities at Gulfstream Park, not to mention the enjoyment of watching quality races. So many stakes races. It's going to be one of the best days of the year, really.
We take a look at 8 stakes races each week on the First Call podcast. We just happen to have 8 of them in a row at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, from the La Previante in race number 6 through the Pegasus World Cup in race 13. We're going to talk about each of them over the next 30, 40 minutes or so. Want to remind you, too, when you play with First Bet and Express Bet this Saturday at Gulfstream Park, there's a $25 money-back special on your win bets in the Pegasus Filly Mare Turf, the Pegasus Turf, and the Pegasus World Cup. If your win bet finishes second or third, you get up to $25 in your bet back. Make sure you opt into promos. And if you like to play multi-race bets, there are $25,000 in hit and split promos coming up on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. All the multi-race wagers, including the Rainbow Six at Gulfstream Park, part of that $25,000 hit and split. That means you get not only your pari-mutuel winnings, but we'll throw thousands of dollars into each additional group of winners that can split that money as well. So extra cash, it's what it's all about. Get paid when you're right. Be sure to play this Saturday with Express Bet and First Bet. And also want to remind you, too, as your gamblers watching this podcast, Sunday at Gulfstream Park, there'll be a mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six. So that makes a big, big weekend of racing. Jeff, let's get to our handicapping. The La Previante Stakes starts as race number 6 for us on our handicapping trek here. 1.5 miles on the turf course at Gulfstream Park. How'd you see this one shaking out?
Well, Adventuring is 7-5 on the morning line, and if you look at her form, there's certainly nothing wrong with it. I mean, she's a very solid mare. I mean, she's a mare that won going at 1 mile and 5/16 at Kentucky Downs, so this distance should be within her range, and she's got speed. She can go to the front. She doesn't need the lead. Everything that you'd like and a favorite she's got. But of course, I'm going to try to beat her. Why not? With number 2, Personal Best, who is a progressive daughter of Tabit. Personal Best was a winner over 1 mile and 3/8 at Aqueduct. Last time out, she was 3rd, but that was on and off the turfer. That's not what she wants. Right. She looks like a lightly raced filly. She's not where Adventuring is yet. She's going to have to step forward. But at 7-2 in the morning line, I think she's got that progression in her. And while Adventuring could easily win, and I would never talk you off her, the price dictates the play here. She's 7-5 in the morning line. Personal Best 7-2. I think the winner is going to be one or the other. I'm fairly confident about that. But I'll put the better price on top. Number 2, Personal Best. I think that again, she's going to move forward, and she's really going to enjoy getting back on the grass.
Adventuring gets the stakes spree, perhaps going for Brad Cox. He's got the favorite Cyberknife in the Pegasus World Cup. Saffie Joseph's got runners in here. I like these undercards on a big race day like this to see kind of who percolates and who's got a big day building up towards the big event later in the day. Sometimes I can tell you if a stable is going very strong or very wrong. And keep an eye on the results of the undercard races as you handicap towards the Pegasus World Cup. Second up on the stakes schedule is race number 7. It's the the Carousel Club Stakes. This is an overnight handicap, $100,000. The only synthetic race among the stakes races on the program. Mile and 70 yards on the Tapeta surface. And Jeff, this is a big field, and the Tapeta races can be challenging to people. So let's see if we can help them out.
Yeah, I'm going to go with King Cause because he has won over all weather. He's been primarily a grass horse, but they don't. Sometimes these horses don't get a chance to run on the all weather, and they actually like it. King Cause certainly doesn't. From the rail, you want to be in the fray, I think, and he actually can use and can show speed if they let him do it. 2 races back on grass, he went gate to wire, but he can do the same against this group. He's an old pro. He's won 8 races. He's 4-1 on the morning line. I mean, that's a square number, I think, for Mike Maker. So I like King Cause here. Hopefully, Florent Giroux will send him out of there to the gate. Doesn't have to go to the front, but be in the fray. And I think if he gets in a good spot, he can win. So I like King Cause in the 7th at Gulfstream.
Giroux coming off his 2000th career victory. He got that the other day. So he's rolling towards the next 1,000 victories on his resume. Wolfie's Dynagos in this race is interesting. Frankie Dettori takes the mount. Frankie in town to ride in the Pegasus World Cup. Faced, of course, at Santa Anita here during the course of the winter. Wolfie's Dynagos basically won this exact same race last year on the undercard Pegasus Day. Wasn't called the Carousel Club back then, but the open handicap on this program won it at 20-1. You're not going to get 20-1 with Frankie Dettori riding, coming off of some decent efforts. But Wolfie's Dynagos certainly been there, done that, and that's always important in some of these unique races. We got a mile 70 stakes race that he's essentially the defending champion of. Let's go to the Inside Information Stakes. It's next up on the schedule. Race number 8 at Gulfstream Park. The Inside Information, of course, named for Shug McGahee and Phipps Stables' outstanding Breeders' Cup Distaff winner. She won by a record margin in her victory in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. This is a 7-furlong sprint. And Jeff, the Inside Information, they got any ladies in here worthy of the name?
Not quite, although on her best day, Obligatory can look pretty good. And
Yeah.
I think at 7-5 on the morning line, she's a logical favorite. You know me with the horse for course theory. I really do lean on it, especially at Gulfstream Park. Obligatory is 2 for 2, and you would think that this would be a track that she wouldn't love because she's a deep closer with a relatively short stretch. But maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's South Florida, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the surface. But Obligatory is really, really good on this track. And of course, coming out of the Breeders' Cup Brilliant Mare Sprint, she was a too little, too late 5th, but didn't run badly. Now she's had a little bit of freshening. She's going to be tough to beat. If I were playing Rolling Exotics, absolutely, she's got to be on the ticket. But a better price, I think, I'm sure, will be number 7, Mary Quite Contrary. She's won 5 out of 6. She's moving up the ladder. Her numbers are rising with every start. She's not quite where Obligatory has been yet, but she's getting close. She just won the Rampart. I like the way she did it, and I think she's going to run huge again.
Let's give the fans a chance to see the Rampart for themselves. Pete Aiello on the call with Mary Quite Contrary.
From the outside, Colorful Mischief, loose for the drive. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. Mary Quite Contrary. She has the lead with just an 1/8 of a mile remaining. Colorful Mischief is gaining, but gaining is not going to cut it here as Mary Quite Contrary has a winning lead. The Rampart to Mary Quite Contrary for Rodney Lundock and Joe Catney's under Luca Panici.
That was at at a mile. Now we cut back to 7 furlongs. So the fact that Mary Quite Contrary was out running Colorful Mischief there, going longer, I don't think going shorter is going to help Colorful Mischief in the rematch. It is second start off the layoff for Colorful Mischief, but they do a rematch back here in the Inside Information. Jeff's going with Mary Quite Contrary. To the 9th race we go with the William L. McKnight, the W.L. McKnight Handicap Grade 3. This has long been a turf marathon on the slate during the winter meet here at Gulfstream Park. 1.5 miles on the grass. You get a lot of familiar faces in a race like this. There's also a race at Sam Houston, the Connolly Turf, that's drawing some similar kind of horses over the course of Saturday's program. Of course, simulcasting not available at Sam Houston, so a lot of people not going to see that. But some of the horses you might have expected to see here in the McKnight also could be split out west in Texas for the Connolly Turf Cup. Jeff, how'd you see the McKnight shaking out?
Once again, I'm leaning on the horse for course theory. I put Temple on top. He's run 15 times here on this course, 5 wins, 5 seconds and 2/3, even though his last race at Red Smith was below standard. But I have a hunch that he's going to bounce back here on firm ground that he likes. And you can contrast this with the old guy Channel Maker, who's actually
Yeah.
3-1. And yeah, who doesn't love Channel Maker? He's 9 years old. He's still going strong. This will be his 50th start. But for all the success that he's had, and he's earned $3.7 million, Channel Maker's record at Gulfstream Park is 5-0-0-0. So, if you're going to, will I throw Channel Maker in on my ticket somewhere? Probably, because I love the horse, and he's, he's running against the best, and this is maybe not the best. But from a gambling standpoint, at 9-2, Temple to me has a just as good a chance. And on his very best day, Temple can be really good. And although he only won one race last year and just 2 in the last 2, I think he's going to fit with these. Temple over Channel Maker for me in the McKnight.
You've got the defending champion of Bond in this race. He won it wire to wire at 3-2 last year, but he's in a different form than he was. He was like at his absolute best this time last winter. He hasn't been as good since. Does the horse like this wake up? Second start off the layoff, perhaps getting the allowance prep, but that allowance prep wasn't what you wanted to see coming into this mile and a half.
No, my first impression was to go with him on. And then I went and digged down deep. I said, I don't really want him. You know what I'm saying? He's not the same horse he was. I watched him breeze on video. He didn't look that enthusiastic. He looked like a horse that maybe doesn't want to do this anymore. I mean, on his best day, especially if he can get loose in the lead, he's a 2-time winner at Gulfstream Park, but he was a 2-time winner when he was better than he is now. So I wanted to use him at 5-1. Maybe I'll protect with him somewhere as a backup ticket or something. But I got off him, and for the reasons that you mentioned.
I've been thinking Palo Alto's going to run a good race here in the U.S., and he's had 4 tries, and it hasn't happened yet. Now he's going from a mile-type races to the mile and a half. But overseas, he wasn't being sent the long trips over there either. So I don't know if he's really a mile and a half kind of horse. But with the pedigree, Graham Motion, Frankie Dettori, good post position, I wouldn't be shocked if Palo Alto runs a pretty good race in here. If he wins, make sure you get a little bit of a price. And with the connections, maybe you won't get the price you deserve. But if you like Palo Alto, somewhere around 10-1, I think that horse could be kind of interesting. He hasn't run a race on his form in the U.S. that says he can win this one yet. I just think there's more there than he's showing. I could be wrong, but make sure you get a price to find out if he happens to deliver on some of that intuition, if you will. Let's go to the Fred W. Hooper Stakes, named for one of the most popular horsemen of all time in Florida. The Fred W. Hooper, 1 mile on the main track. This is a grade 3, 10th race on the card. We'll have the late pick 4 starting with this, races 10 through 13. Fred W. Hooper on the main track before we have a couple turf races and the Pegasus World Cup still to come. Jeff, who'd you like in the 10th, the Hooper?
This is a spread for sure. I mean, there are so many horses that look like they could be capable of winning this race, and you wouldn't be surprised if they did. If I wanted to put a horse on top, and even this is a little bit suspect, but Miles D on the rail. Now, I know we haven't seen him since February of last year. He's been gone almost a year. Right. And it's possible that Miles D is in this race just to get the cobwebs off and the rust off and ready to stretch out. But what I like about him is he's run well fresh. He's won going a 1-turn mile, the second start of his life. He's another one of these horses that sometimes you pigeonhole into being a mile and an eighth type horse. And you back them up off the bench, and they're fresh and they're sharp and they can do this distance. I think Miles D, if he comes back as well as he left, can win, and he's got the rail with Rosario and Chad Brown, and he's been working at Payson Park. I haven't seen any videos, but I'm going to assume that he's reasonably fit, and he's pretty good. I think he's the best horse in the race if he's ready, and you can gamble that he will be. And not 3-1 in the morning line is not a great price or anything like that, but it wouldn't be surprised to me if he won this race. Plenty of pace in the race. Yeah. He can fit off the pace and blast home, and I think that's the strategy. And I like Miles D to win, but again, probably would want a little bit more than 3-1. I don't think I'll get it.
I have a little more confidence than you do. We're on the same horse, but I like him a lot because there's a saying I like to say: when the best horse in the race gets the right setup, you just go with it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the best horse in the race, and the race sets up for him. Like you said, there's a lot of speed in here. Picking up Pennies, Mish, Octane. There's a lot of horses who want to go up towards the front here. Should be a great trip. You know, they're going to go out. He gets to settle mid-pack, save a little ground, find space through. And under Rattling Rosario, I think it's a great setup. I think it's the best horse in the race, and he gets the pace set up. I'm with you. I'm bullish on Miles on Saturday. I would look for maybe some closers on underneath. You got that closer or whatever. Maybe one of the speed horses holds on. Even 12-Volt Man is a horse who comes from way out of it. But this might be the Saffie Joseph horse you want to watch late because Saffie's got other speed in this race. We know the one-turn miles and a big day like this, that's like Saffie Joseph real estate at Gulfstream Park, the one-turn miles and these big race undercards. So he's got the closer with 12-Volt Man, who's going to be coming from the absolute clouds. I think you use Miles D, you use 12-Volt Man underneath, and this is a race I'm really one of the races I'm most excited about playing, I think, on Saturday's card at Gulfstream. The fact that we agree on the top horse makes me feel even better about it as we move into the bigger races.
All right, you talked me into I like them anyway, but after hearing the enthusiastic speech, maybe I like him a little bit more right now. And I agree with you on 12-Volt Man. We got a breeze on him with White Barrio, I believe it was. He looked good just the other day. And outside draw, he can drop over and make a run. And again, my old horse for course at Gulfstream Theory, 9 starts, 5 wins in a second. So I'm sure he's going to be happy to be out there. 8-1 with Frankie. You got to use him if certainly in your exactas and tries, and maybe even if you're playing rolling exotics as well.
Next up is the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We want to remind you, go to first.com/guide, 1st.com/guide, and you can access the digital First Express Bet Pegasus World Cup Wager Guide. We've got analysis of all of these Pegasus World Cup races. We also have the undercard taken care of with the First Bet Artificial Intelligence. About 15, 16 handicappers across the first family of racetracks and properties, giving you their top picks for the Pegasus World Cup. So be sure to check out the World Cup Wager Guide. Again, first.com/guide, or you can go to news.first.com. And there is a tab for the wager guide on the right-hand side. So be sure to check that out. And, Jeff, let's go right into the Filly and Mare Turf. Field of 11 originally in here, but we've got some scratches: the 5 Monastella, the 10 Base Storm, and the 11 Perseverancia, a filly I was really interested in using in this race in the underneath slot. So we take out the 5, 10, and 11. That's going to leave a field of 8. That might change some wagering strategies if you were looking at tries and supers because of the big field. Now with the field of 8, maybe you're trying to tighten it up a little bit more and look more towards win and exacta and maybe multi-race bets. The field size certainly will make a decision in prices and what you could expect in returns. I know we both expect the same filly to run well in here. Her name is Waka Naka. Let's go back and take a look at her race at Keeneland in the Harvest Stakes back on Breeders' Cup week.
At the top and tries to move up behind her, then Delika, then Stolen Holiday. Now Stolen Holiday comes running after Burning Ambition. Henrietta Topham still hunting racing room, and here comes Waka Naka down the center of the course. Burning Ambition, Waka Naka far outside, Henrietta Topham toward the inside. Waka Naka hits another gear in deep stretch for Joel Rosario. Waka Naka to win it, Henrietta Topham second, Burning Ambition across the line third, and Stolen Holiday was fourth.
Naka from post 3, good draw in here. Rosario back to ride, same team that won. Jeff, I just love not only that race, that was impressive, but look at her running lines prior to that. She ran against Modern Games, she ran against Regal Glory, she ran against In Italian, she ran basically against the Eclipse Awards. That's what we saw announced last night. She's got the running lines. I love her in this spot.
And not only that, but I think maybe it just came up that way, or maybe they decided to change her style, but they took her back to last in the race we just saw, and she produced a serious turn of foot from the top of the stretch to the wire to win going away. Now, she'd run some good races before that. She won the Dance Smartly at Woodbine back last summer, and then they ran her in the Woodbine Mile against Modern Games, and she was 3 lengths off a 45 and change half, too close, and she flattened out. But now they grab her, they take her back, produce one late kick, kind of similar to the way they rode her, a little bit anyway, when she was a very good second behind In Italian in the Honey Fox at Gulfstream Park last year. And that's significant for me because it shows me that she can act on this ground at Gulfstream Park. Sometimes Keeneland and Gulfstream Park, you can't transfer the form, but I think in here you can. And while you've got form here with Delika and obviously Shantasara, who was a really good 3-year-old a couple years back, but was beaten by Waka Naka. I think there's no reason for me to believe Waka Naka can't or won't win again. I mean, we both come up with the same horse for the same reasons, I think.
Yeah, and there's plenty of speed in here, even with the scratches. The speed stays intact. Artie's Princess Dalika, the 1-2, both have some early gas. The 6 Queen Goddess wants to be out there early. So I think it sets up nice. And with Shanti Sarah, she's the morning line favorite. She's even money. She might even go less than that because we just bet Jed Brown on the turf of these Philly Fair division races. That's the way that it goes. But she got beat at 6 flat, got beat at even. She's run twice in over a year, and she got beat at short prices both times. So if you take Shanti Sarah, it's, buyer beware. You're going to get a short price on what I think is a vulnerable favorite. But she's talented. She could win the race. If you're playing pick 5, pick 6, something like that. Coast to coast pick 5 includes this race on Saturday. I guess you don't want to get beat by Shanti Sarah, but it's a little defensive, I think, to use her in that spot. So it's based on your opinion. Would I use her? No, I'm going to single Wakanaka in all my multi-race bets. I love her in that spot. But I could see a handicapper saying I definitely want to have Shanti Sarah involved. I just think from a gambling standpoint and an aggressive standpoint, and it also depends what you think could happen in the other races, of course, when you're constructing your tickets. But I'm going to take a shot against Shanti Sarah in the spot and see how it turns out. Let's go, Jeff, to the Philly, or from the Philly AmeriTurf to the Turf. $1 million race. Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf. Witten here, we had a good 3-year-old season last year. Ivar, a good miler in past years, now stretches out to 1 mile and an eighth. It's kind of an interesting race that doesn't have a standout, but it's got a lot of hooks to it. Hurricane Dream, first time U.S. Then you've got the filly in here, Lady Spitespear. So it's got a little bit of like everything you want, right? 3s turning 4, milers trying longer, fillies against the boys, Euros coming over. It's an interesting race. How did you shake this one out?
Well, I'm definitely going to spread and with some prices. You mentioned Hurricane Dream listed at 15 to 1 in the morning line for Graham Motion. He's got form that is very solid and fits has time form ratings that fit with these. He also has a 58 flat breezing work on January 22nd. He looked really good in that work.
When is Motion breeze the horse at 58?
Well, the thing is, the dogs weren't up, so
they weren't up. That helped.
No. And but he looked good in company, and to me, I think that he's got a legitimate chance, if not to win it, but then certainly hit the board at 15 to 1. So that was good. I ended up with Masterpiece, and the angle here, when you're talking about a 10 to 1 shot, they're 10 to 1 because based on form, they're probably not quite up to what the others are. But you got to look at some angles. And for me, Masterpiece, he was a marathon horse in Argentina and Chile, and he's been a marathon horse here. The best race of his life, though, I think, was at 1 mile and an eighth in the Eddie Reed. I thought he was terrific that day. He's back at 1 mile and an eighth here. Maybe he's always been a middle distance horse who had been running long on marathons because he was running well, but maybe he's better at this strip. He's fresh, and if he runs back to that Eddie Reed, I think he's got a chance to pull off a surprise.
Tango on the outside. Master of Foxhounds, beyond brilliant. Now they coming from behind. Here's Masterpiece, the grey. Masterpiece, Hong Kong Harry coming late, but Masterpiece has gone right on by. And Masterpiece in an upset under Abel Cedillo. They win it clear. Second place will go to Hong Kong Harry, a 4-way photo for third.
And Jeremy, he also won going 1 mile and an eighth back in 2021, second start since being imported from South America. And then after that, he was running all these long races, and he always seems to move and then kind of lose his punch a little bit towards the end, beating ahead in the Del Mar handicap. And his next start after the one we just saw, same thing happened. He got there, looked like he was going to win, just kind of lost his steam. But at 1 mile and an eighth, get some cover, sit back, and blast home. He's one of several that can win at a price. I'm not saying he has to win, but you have to use him at 10 to 1.
I got to say, too, that I talked with Brian Natto at Gulfstream Park about his Coast to Coast Pick 5 ticket, and you can check those videos out on social media later this weekend. But he's also on Masterpiece in here, Jeff. So you're in good company. He likes the runner as well. And I told him you liked this horse because I had known what your picks were going to be for the podcast as well. So he liked that you liked his horse. And you guys are both on the same one. And I like that when handicappers I respect come to the same opinion. I have zero opinion in this race. And really, it was a struggle for me because I had the Philly AmeriTurf in the wager guide for first and express betting in my my wagering strategies, I really want to look multi-race bets because it's an 8-horse field after the scratches in the Philly Mare Turf. I think Wakanaka to win is the right play, but I think the exactas underneath Wakanaka, probably logical with Shanty Sarah or Dalika, aren't going to pay that much. So I'm looking for a multi-race bet. I've got to come up with an opinion in one of the other races, though, to make it a good multi-race bet. And I didn't have one in the turf. So the fact that you and Brian are both on Masterpiece, a good price, now it makes me think, the way to go back is to look at a daily double. Let's take Wakanaka. Let's take Masterpiece. If we can get the two of them together, you might be looking at something around a $60, $80 daily double there, beating Shanty Sarah and getting a price in the second leg. And that could be a way to bet a little, make a lot. That's what we're all trying to do here.
That's for sure. And again, I would throw in Hurricane Dream. Lady Spite Spear comes off a career top effort in the Breeders' Cup Philly and Mare Turf. She's trying boys for the first time, but she certainly has the style to be within range, and then she kind of can grind it out. Speaking Scout, that's the other motion. He worked in 58. That's obviously he worked in company with Hurricane Dream, and he's a newly turned 4 who I thought was pretty impressive out here in California when he won the Hollywood Derby and ran second in the Twilight Derby. Again, a horse that is not on pure form up to this level yet, but horses improve, and maybe you throw him in at 8-1. So your strategy is probably the right strategy. Try to get your single home and then spread a little bit, go for some prices. I couldn't say for sure that Ivar wouldn't be the logical top pick. He certainly ran well against Modern Games. Yeah. He's just at a mile and 1/8. I don't know whether he's got that same late kick, but if he wins, he wins. I mean, what are you going to do?
Right. Let's take a look at the schedule as we wrap up our handicapping with the 13th race on the card. It's the Pegasus World Cup Invitational presented by Baccarat. $3 million in the purse, a mile and 1/8. This is the 7th running. And again, remind you, $25 money back special on your win bets on races 11, 12, and 13, the Philly and Mare Turf, the Turf, and the Pegasus World Cup. Up to $25 back on your win bets if your win bet finishes 2nd or 3rd. So that's a good incentive to dive into the Pegasus World Cup, because this is a race where you might want a little coverage 2nd or 3rd, a little insurance. It's a tough one. I think this is the toughest edition of the Pegasus World Cup from a handicapping standpoint, top to bottom, that we've had in its 7 editions. Gone are the Arrogates, the Life is Goods, the Knicks Go, the heavy type favorites in these spots, Jeff. And what we have instead is a deep field. It's a contentious field. I mean, you've got a horse in Cyberknife who was runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year, missed just by a head. The Dirt Mile has been so productive, produced 3 of the last 4 winners of this race, including 2 straight. So it'd be no surprise there. You got horses like Art Collector's won almost $3 million. The Funded's on top of his game. And then you've got the 3-year-olds from Gulfstream last year, Jeff. This is really a feather in the cap of the Gulfstream racing program when you have the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby winner both back at age 4, and not just both back, but they're in the marquee race of their 4-year-old season, the Pegasus World Cup. I mean, that's what you want from a racing program. You want your 2-year-olds to develop the 3, stick around in racing the 4, and become your handicap division stars. So Gulfstream has that with Simplification and White Abario, last year's stars of the local 3-year-old cast. So it's good to see them back. This is a fun addition. You've got Proxy in for Godolphin and Mike Stidham off the win in the Clark, a grade 1. Look, there's no Knicks Go, which means there's no 3 to 5 horse in this year's Pegasus World Cup. What do you think they're going to do on the tote board with Cyberknife?
I don't know. I looked at this field and I said to myself, if you had a piece of paper with a horse, each horse's name, put it in a hat, pick one out, and then your job was to make a case for it. You could make a case for every horse in this race. If not to win, then certainly run 2nd or 3rd. Every horse has a credential to belong in this race. And if you chose one and you could defend it to the death, because that's how contentious this race is. Even 30-1 with Stiletto Boy. I mean, you'd say, oh, he's got no chance. Well, no, but he usually runs 2nd or 3rd. He's run 19 times, hit the board 14 times. Could he not run 2nd or 3rd? Of course he could.
He did last year, right? I mean, he was in the same race last year at 26-1 and ran 3rd. He'll be a bigger price this time.
That's my point. So it's a great race from here. Now, if they decided to run Flightline in this race and then go out that way, which they never considered, but if they did, it would be a great race to see Flightline, but it wouldn't be a gambling race, I mean, so, but this is, and that's what we're here for. So I ended up with a horse named Wida Barrio, who we know again. The theme for me on this particular card is the horse for course theory. He's 4 for 4 lifetime, and he won the Florida Derby, and he actually won that race a little easier than I remember him doing so. He wasn't really knocked about in the last 16th of a mile. He looked good doing it, and that's when he was 3 back in the spring. He hasn't won since, but he's training really well, and maybe he will perk up and improve for Saffie Joseph, as so many of these Florida-based horses do. And at 10-1, I don't guarantee he's going to win or anything like that, but he's a gamble for me. Wida Barrio, number 4, based on his Florida Derby win.
Was the Kinks who sang back where we started, here we go round again? That's what they're looking for with Wida Barrio. Let's see him at his best.
Now at the top of the stretch, Simplification bracing for an oncoming Wida Barrio. Papa Cap is very game between horses, and Charge It swings into action on the far outside. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. Wida Barrio takes over from Simplification. Charge It with a late say down the center. 16th to run. Wida Barrio almost home. Charge It shifts ground. Wida Barrio still there, and Wida Barrio wins the Florida Derby for Saffie Joseph Jr. from Charge It in second and Simplification third.
Jeff, you and I do a Tuesday podcast called It's Official, where we usually recap the weekend, and this time we looked ahead to the Pegasus World Cup. I was twisted in knots. I basically tied up trying to figure out if I was going to keep the Funded as my top pick, as it was on Tuesday. I'm staying with the Funded.
Good for you.
After much consternation, I got cast in my stall. I couldn't move. I was tied up. I stuck with him. I'm going to go with the Funded. I like Irad Ortiz taking them out for Bob Baffert, the unique team that we don't see that often.
Right.
The best of the West with the best rider on the East. I'm going to take the Funded in here. I think he's going to be up near the pace. The pace in this race probably comes from Defunded and Art Collector, I would assume. Those two are next to each other. If somebody inside goes with them, riding with Biden, perhaps, if he's sent hard from the inside. Simplification with Paco Lopez has some races. We forget Simplification is usually closing, but he was 45 and change when he went wire to wire in the Mucho Macho Man over the same track about this time last year in January. And we know Paco Lopez is as aggressive as any jockey in America out of the starting gate. So Simplification or riding with Biden could go early. And if they do, that's going to make it tougher on Defunded and Art Collector. But I think Defunded and Art Collector are faster than those two. And if those two can make the front, we'll see how far they go.
With that relatively short run to the clubhouse turn going a mile and 1/8 at Gulfstream Park, very few of these riders take hold leaving the gate. They want to get out of there and then find position before they get fanned out. They want to dictate where they want to be. They don't want the other horses to dictate when they'll be. What happens when that happens? Sometimes you get a quicker opening quarter, and then by then you're committed. You got to keep going.
Yeah, right.
So the pace scenario here is a little volatile. The way you set it up, Jeremy, I think is what's going to happen. What I'm curious about is where is Cyberknight going to be in this mess? I mean, he's the favorite and logically the top pick in his last race of his career, but he's in the 10-hole. Right. And Florent Drew is going to have to let him run out of there to try to get position, because if you look at his form, Cyberknight is most effective when he was, what I say, in the fray. He doesn't have to be in front. He doesn't even have to be second or third, but he's got to be relatively close. I don't think he wants to come from way out of it unless there's an extreme race shape that promotes him. And so while you look at the form and say, isn't he good enough? Isn't he the right horse? Maybe. But does he have to win? You don't have to win. So it's a tough race.
And in the fray means kind of like what? Third, fourth, fifth, something like that. Hmm. From the 10-hole and being third, fourth, fifth generally means you're going to be fanned wide on the turn.
Exactly.
So 1, 2 can kind of get position. Drop back 7, 8, 9, you can go over and get position and drop down towards the inside. You want to be in that 3, 4, 5 spot from the 10-hole. He's almost sure to lose ground. So Cyberknife, not only as the favorite and the shortest price, he's going to have the longest way around. So he's going to have to earn it. If you're going to take a short price on a horse from a wide draw like that, you better think he's 3, 4 lengths the best in the race. And he very, very well may be. Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile horses have that brilliance that play very, very well in this race historically. So he could be, but he's going to have to be probably 3 lengths the best in order to get the victory in the Pegasus World Cup. We want to remind you that the Coast to Coast Pick 5 returns Saturday and Sunday this week. You can play this online. You can play it at any simulcast outlet around the country. When you play it with First Bet and Express Bet, though, you get a $10 free bet when you opt into the promotion Saturday and Sunday, not only this week, but all of them throughout the course of January. We've been offering that $10 free bet promotion. Be sure to opt in and take a shot at the Coast to Coast Pick 5. Jeff's got handicapping on the Las Virgenes and also the third from Santa Anita on Saturday. Brian Natto handicaps races 11, 12, and 13 in our social media videos previewing the Coast to Coast Pick 5. So you want to be able to check those out on Twitter and also on YouTube throughout the course of the weekend. But races 11, 12, 13 are the 3 Pegasus World Cup races, and they happen to also be in the Coast to Coast Pick 5. So a good time to check that out. Also, be sure to check out the Wager Guide from First Bet and Express Bet for the Pegasus World Cup. Available now. 15 handicappers, 16 handicappers across the first family of tracks chime in on the big race. Jeff takes you through the turf. Eddie Olczyk's got analysis for the Classic. I've got you for the Philly and Mare Turf. Stats and trends, XBTV workouts, everything you need. First Bet artificial intelligence picks for the entire 13 race card that gets underway at 10:50 a.m. All available in the digital wager guide. You can really sort through it easily on any device. It's built for desktop, it's built for tablet, and it's built for phones alike. So be sure to check that out. First.com/guide. First.com/guide, the way you can get to the wager guide, or also just go to our news section at news.first.com and then click on the wager guide button there. So a lot of work went into that. A lot of work went into all the handicapping across the big card Saturday at Gulfstream Park. We thank Jeff Siegel for coming in and give us his opinions on the 8 races this weekend. Jeff, give you the final thought.
Well, it's the great card on Saturday for sure at Gulfstream Park. I'll be doing Santa Anita on the website, so check out my full card analysis and wagering strategies. What you need to know for Santa Anita every racing day. You can get that at santanita.com, expressbet.com, and also xptv.com. Also, I'll be working simulcast today at Santa Anita with Zoe Cadman. Right. So if you're playing Santa Anita, check us out on that broadcast. You can get that, of course, on the website at santanita.com. And, of course, ExpressBet. You get all the racetracks there. So I'll be there doing that and then looking forward to a fantastic day around the country, not only at Gulfstream Park, but, again, you mentioned some really good racing at Oaklawn Park and Santa Anita as well. So we'll be having a good weekend, and hopefully it'll be a profitable weekend as well.
We'll wrap it up on Tuesday for you, as we always do on It's Official. We'll look back, I'm sure, at the Southwest and the San Vicente among the 3-year-olds as the Triple Crown tracker monitors all those. We'll be looking for our stars of tomorrow in the 2-year-old races this weekend. And, of course, we're going to have a big recap of what goes on Pegasus World Cup Day, races 11, 12, and 13 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. On behalf of everybody with First Technologies, my partner Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plunk. Enjoy the Pegasus. Good luck, and we'll talk to you Tuesday.